As you can see here, we are having our characteristic profiles. Each unit entry contains the following characteristic profiles: global characteristics, defensive characteristics, and offensive characteristics. Global characteristics are: advance, the distance the model can advance, move in inches; march, the distance the model can march, move in inches; discipline, the model's ability to stand and fight. Defensive characteristics are: health points. When the model loses this many health points, it is removed as a casualty. Defensive skill: how well the model avoids being hit in melee. Resilience: how easily the model withstands blows. Armor: the innate armor of the model. Offensive characteristics: agility. Model parts with higher agility strike first in melee. Attack value: the number of times the model part can strike in a round of combat. Offensive skill: how good the model part is at scoring hits in melee. Strength: how easily the model part can wound enemy models. And armor penetration: how well the model part can penetrate the armor of enemy models. Usually, our characteristic is rated with a value between 0 and 10. A higher value of a given characteristic indicates that the model is more accomplished in that characteristic. These values are used for various game mechanics like moving units, attacking with models, and other things. Also, some models can have random characteristics. It's actually the random values for one or more characteristics. You roll a value each time immediately before it's needed. In the case of defensive and offensive characteristics, the rolled value is used for all simultaneous attacks from that model part. When several model parts in the same unit have a random value for a characteristic, roll separately for each model part. A random value for advance rate means that the model has the random movement. For an example, you may see something like a movement X. In this case, X means the roll that should be applied when you're rolling a dice, and it should be applied to this characteristic. Also, we are having characteristic tests and discipline tests. Characteristic test means that you should roll a d6. If the result is lower or equal to the value of a tested characteristic, test is passed. Otherwise, the test is failed. The test always fails on a result of 6. When a model with more than one value of the characteristic takes a characteristic test, take the single test for the multi-part model using the highest value available. Discipline tests are a special type of a characteristic test. To perform a discipline test, roll a d6 and compare the result with the model's discipline characteristic. If the result is lower than or equal to the discipline value, test is passed. Otherwise, test is failed. When a unit takes a discipline test, the owner chooses a single model in the unit to take the test for the whole unit. If there are different discipline values in the unit, the owner chooses which model to use. This often occurs when characters are joined to a unit. If the model passes the discipline test, every model in the unit is considered to have passed the test. Many different game mechanics call for a discipline test, such as performing a panic test, break test, and others. All these mechanics are discipline tests, regardless of any additional rules or modifications described in the rules sections. The Fantasy Battles includes a series of army books which contain the unique rules of characters and troops, and the description of the different armies. All units entries within an army book are divided into a different army category, which may be limited to represent a minimum or maximum percentage of the army points. In this video, you can see the actual building of an army, the costs and what they mean, the categories, and so on. The point costs are in every unit, upgrade, special item, etc. And it costs a certain amount of points. 9th Age uses points costs to balance units and options, so two players can enjoy a game that tests their skill. This allows for quick pickup games between friends or helps design scenarios where you need to know how powerful certain things are. A unit's point cost is a total of its starting point cost, and the point costs of all its upgrades. Each army is divided into several army categories, restricting the selection of units in a way that enables players to enjoy a balanced and fair gaming experience. At the same time, they still ensure that the armies used in the game can employ a wide variety of styles. This could represent a single character and its hunting party, or large armies, numbering in their thousands, clashing for the fate of the world. Before building an army, you want to decide with your opponent on the size of the battle, referred to as the army points. Combined point costs of every unit in your army will be, as described in the points costs, must not exceed the actual army points limit. For the army categories, we are having the characters. It's the hero of your army. This category always has a maximum amount of points that can be spent on it. Usually it's 40% of army points. Then we are having the core. The army core always has a minimum amount of points that must be spent on it. Usually it's 25% of your army points total. Also, we are having the special category. The special category has no maximum or minimum limits. You are free to spend any amount of points on units in this army category. Also, you are having the army specific category. It has a maximum amount of points that can be spent on it. The limit is defined within individual army books. Also, sometimes unit may be belonging to more than one army category. Also, you may have a duplication limits and restrictions. Usually it's from 0 till X items per army. It may be one of a kind unit. Maybe it's a minimum army size. Every army must contain a minimum of 4 units. Characters do not count towards this minimum. All units with the War Machine universal rule together count as a single unit for this purpose. And the general. A single character in the army must be named as a general. Also, we have different types of armies. Armies of 3000 points or less are called war bands. A minimum army size is decreased to 3 units. Also, we are having grand armies. It's an armies of 8000 points or more. All 0 to X items per army limits are doubled. Adapt the board size to the size of the game. Every unit in the game has a certain set of characteristics and possibly optional or mandatory upgrades. And as explained above, every unit is part of army category. In addition, the models in that unit may be equipped with particular weapons and armor, and they may have one or more model rules, as you will learn in the later parts of this video. Here you can see a common unit entry. As you can see here, we have the name of the unit, the actual category that it belongs to, limit per army, what height, type and base should be applied to this unit. Also, we are having global, defensive and offensive characteristics, model rules and options. Also, we are having command group options.